and the Pirates should have been as well, as they win that game by the final score tonight of 5-4. And I still have a sneaking suspicion here, Gene, that the Dodgers are going to regret if they had an opportunity to make a trade for Felipe Vasquez. When it comes to winning games like that against a hitter like that, Vasquez can get the job done.
Yeah, that's exactly what you're going to come down to in the playoffs. The best pitchers facing the best hitters, and it'd be great to have somebody like Vasquez who's really calm in those situations. You could tell he really wanted that strikeout to end the game, but normally he's very calm, and his stuff is just incredible. That's 24 saves in 26 chances. He's a really good player.
It makes me wonder about the offseason, and if the Pirates, who are going to look at this thing realistically, unless they make some changes and additions and spend some money, I don't know that Vasquez is a guy who serves this team well. I mean, he's a guy who can get to save situations, but if they're not in a lot of position to save games, he would be better off, I think, trade values to trade him to a team. The Pirates did not get rid of him at the trade deadline. I'm not sure what the actual returns were offered, but Gene, would you explore that again if you had a chance in the offseason, if you can get a couple of pieces that would help next year's team?
Yeah, it always depends on what you can get. You're right, Vasquez does not have a lot of utility to a Pirate team that doesn't add any starting pitching or anything else for that matter. You don't really need a guy like Vasquez. So, depending on what you can get for him, you sure would explore it, absolutely.
All right, I want to remind you also we have a preseason game, the final one of the year, coming up tomorrow or Thursday night on KDKA. It's the Carolina Panthers hosting the Steelers, and there's still a lot of things up in the air for the Steelers when it comes to roster, like backup quarterback. At this point, to me, it looks like Mason Rudolph, although today Josh Dobbs was informed that he would start the game in Carolina. It's not that he's played terribly badly, Gene. It's just that he's had some bad throws in the red zone. And when you're giving away points at that point, that's a thing that coaches just do not like.
Well, that's for sure. But I think Josh Dobbs has played better than people are giving him credit for. I don't think the separation between him and Rudolph is all that great. Now, there may be something else going on Thursday night in Carolina with the decision to start Dobbs. I mean, maybe the Steelers are putting him in there to showcase him, if you will. A couple teams, really looking for a qualified backup. The Colts, of course, being the most prominent.
Yeah, a lot of teams can use guys who can make or at least help you as a backup. We'll see. Still a lot of things going on. I'll ask you this before we go to the lines, and that would be tight ends. I still think the Steelers need somebody better as the number 2 tight end. They have Vance McDonald, who's had the potential to put up some big plays, but he also has had an injury history. Do you think the number 2 tight end is on their team now, or do you think they'll wait maybe for a roster move by somebody else?
Yeah, I think the Steelers will definitely add a tight end. I don't think they're happy with anybody really, with the exception of McDonald. They hit the kind of, late acquisition tight end lottery once, if you will, with McDonald. They have to hope something like that happens again, that somebody just kind of falls into their lap the way Joe Hayden did right before the season started.
Yeah, speaking of Joe Hayden, he was back at practice today. He said if it was week 1 against New England that he would be ready to go, but the Steelers still have not come to a deal with him, and I thought this might be resolved early. It has not been. Their policy deadline there would be right at the beginning of the season, September the 7th. It can go as long as, up until kickoff of September the 8th. Yeah. But do you think, Gene, that he's going to get a deal?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think he's a very valuable player, not only in what he brings athletically on the field, but as a leader and as a kind of a brain back there in the secondary. Yeah, he's a valuable player.
Yeah, going rate right now is about $10, $11 million a year, and I'm not sure how many years you want to invest in a guy who's in his 30s, but that's something they need to consider. All right, back to the lines we go. Bob in Clearfield, first up tonight. Hey, Bob, how are you?
Hi, gentlemen. Thank you very much. When you look at New Orleans Saints quarterback Taysom Hill, he said, and all the extra duties that he has, then you look at Josh Dobbs, he said, is a tremendous athlete, naturally talented. I wonder if they've ever thought about, he said, using Josh Dobbs in other capacities, because that would be an awful lot of raw athletic ability to be pushed back to a third quarterback, and probably some weeks he doesn't even dress for the game. So I'll just hang up here and see what you guys thought about using him in extra capacities.
Bob, thanks. Taysom Hill is very good at what he does. He can throw the ball for sure, but he also is a very gifted runner. Yeah, I don't think if you're saying they should create specialty packages for him, I don't know that they're in the game to do that. Do you?
No, I mean the Steelers are going to go. You know, they feel and they felt for a long time that Ben is the best player, and you know they're going to give them themselves every chance to make big plays with him every chance they get. They're not going to farm out any portion of their offense to anyone else.
All right, let's go to line number 2. It's Pete in Squirrel Hill. Pete, you're up. What's up?
Hey, Bob, how are you tonight?
We're good, thanks.
Hey, Bob, something you never hear the part announcers talking about is the player's WAR rating. I checked today. Reynolds is a 2.5, okay, the highest on the team.
Mm-hmm.
Bob, Josh Bell is a 1. That means his impact on a game, Bob, is so minimal that if you would take him out of the lineup and put a reserve in, it would be the difference in only 1 win. Are you kidding me?
Well, those numbers can be skewed a little bit. If you're going to talk about impact, last night he had a pretty good impact. That he hit a 32-foot home run to tie the game in the top of the night. I think that had some impact.
Bob, he's the worst defensive first baseman in Major League Baseball.
I understand that. But what other options are you going to tell me that of all the things they need? That to me is way down on the pecking list. I pitching, and more pitching. I'm pretty confident, Pete. I don't know about you, Gene, with having Newman, Reynolds, Marte, and Bell as the top 4 in my order. I don't have a problem with that, do you?
I don't have a problem with that at all. Pete, if you're going to tell me that you'd rather have Brian Reynolds in the lineup than Josh Bell, you'd rather have somebody with 13 homers than somebody with 33, I'm going to refer you back to the WAR formula. The WAR formula is fine as far as it goes, but it doesn't always tell you the truth in my view.
Yeah, I think you can write. Brian Reynolds has been terrific. And the one thing I like about him, slump-proof so far this season. He's a rookie. You think people would adjust to him. Whatever the case, he's never gone in a prolonged slump. He now leads the National League in batting after Jeff McNeil goes 0 for 4. Let's go to Jim in Clearfield. Hey, Jim, go right ahead, sir.
Hey, fellas, enjoy your show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Vasquez, he's amazing. I mean, they bring him in tonight and pitched the way he did. Why didn't we bring him in last night? We would have beat him last night, too.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. He had a lot of pitches tonight, but Gene, thanks for the call. Last night they had, Chris Stratton was struggling in the 9th, 8th, 9th, 10th, all of those innings, and he could have been used there to seal a win, and he didn't.
He had the night off. Half the bullpen had the night off. The Pirates and not just the Pirates, most teams in baseball are really into protecting their pitching investments. They're almost more concerned with that than they are in winning games. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, except if your name is Chris Stratton, you'll be out there for 60 pitches, regardless of walk 4 batters in 2 innings.
That's right.
Boy, he was walking a tightrope last night, no doubt. Tony in the Hill District joins us right now. Hey, Tony.
Tony.
Hey, Bob. Hi, Gene. How you doing?
Good. We're good.
I just want to say this. A lot of people don't like that Andrew Luck retired, but I really want to commend him because a lot of players that get hurt don't know they don't know when to quit. And I think I'm really commending him because he's saying his body's tired and he want to heal himself. Maybe he'll come back next year. And I just want to say I don't think that he's getting the right treatment that he's getting from his fans or whoever.
I think Gene and I both agree with that. It's his decision. What is the difference between Andrew Luck, Gene, and what we heard today from Rob Gronkowski? Now, I realize he's not a quarterback. Quarterbacks impact games more so than tight ends, although Gronk did a pretty good job. Gronk pretty much said, I was in a bad place in this game. Football was draining me. I took the joy out of the game. Almost the same thing that Andrew Luck said.
Yeah, and Andrew Luck, retired probably at a more fortuitous time, not for the Colts, but for himself. The pro football game is all about money. I mean the individual's money. They really have to pay attention to that because their health. They're risking so much of their health that it's becoming a tougher and tougher call how long you want to play this game. It's a brutal, brutal game.
And Gronk said that quad injury he got in the Super Bowl, he couldn't sleep for 4 months on a consistent basis. It hurt him so much. And so you get to a point where I don't think anyone understands the pain involved. If you did, then you would understand. And even if you don't, you should understand because pain is pain. If you've ever had back pain or any kind of pain, it makes a difference on how you approach your life. We have a tweet from PA Ram 59 at KD Pomp at Gene Collier. And he says, Rodriguez and Crick have not performed well. Would you keep either, move on from them in 2020? Too many long balls. What do you think, Gene? What would you do?
Well, just about every pitcher in baseball has thrown too many long balls. There's something wrong with the ball. I think that's pretty obvious. But Crick and Rodriguez can be had, certainly. I mean, if you had interest in either of those players, I mean, they're certainly not untouchable. But they've both given you stretches of good innings, but they can be had.
We got Mike in Ross Township joins us on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. What's up, Mike?
Hey, Bob, how you doing?
We're good,
hey,
thanks.
I watch your Cochran Sports Show every Sunday. It's a good show.
Thanks.
You asked Filipponi about Andrew Luck, and he said how selfish he was for retiring. And if you heard Gronkowski today, he basically said the same thing. I mean, I just heard you talk about this while I was on the line holding. I mean, I don't know how he gets off talking about someone like that. I mean, he's the one that left all the money. The coach backed him. The owner backed him. I mean, you know, if your body's that beat up, what do you expect a guy to do?
Well, I think Andrew had an issue with the timing of it, too, just because it's right before the start of the season, and Indianapolis kind of, backed into a corner here. But, listen, he tried. I think what he tried to do was try to take part in this preseason, see if he can handle whatever he can handle. His ankle will still bother him. He just said, I'm not going to do it. Now, he could have gone on IR. Taking a whole year of money if you wanted to.
Well, people are going to yell about this no matter when he does it. What do you want him to do it 3 weeks into the real season? I mean, come on. If he doesn't feel like he can play and he doesn't want to play, I mean, he's holding the team back. He's cheating the other guys on the team if he's out there without a full commitment to competing.
Yeah, I applaud that. It's unusual. We talk about it all the time. The players should think about their futures. They really should. We've seen too many examples of guys who have not done that and pay the price dearly later in life. We got to go to a break. It's 412-575-2600. Let us know what you think. We're live tonight, Pittsburgh CW, Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.